I'm Chloe and welcome to my studio. I'm working on my collection for fall that is really inspired by the stones that I'm working with. I'll show you those in a little bit and you'll understand why. And so today I'm going to be doing a bunch of things to get ready for that collection. Come along with me as I make some ring bands, make some design decisions, and do some other miscellaneous things to get ready to launch this collection. My studio is an absolute disaster because I have just had my hands in a lot of different things recently, so I haven't cleaned up after myself and everything's out and about, so bear with me. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about is when I'm planning my collections, I always start with these little design boards of what I'm gonna make. I am a terrible 2D artist, as you'll see in a moment, but I just like to sketch out what I'm thinking about for my collections. It helps me organize my ideas and also make sure that I'm going into it with a thought and a plan. I almost always deviate from my collection plans and ideas in some way, so this is just a way to get my ideas flowing and see what kinds of things I'm thinking about. But yeah, let me show you what I did. So like I mentioned, this is a fall inspired collection. You'll see why in these stones. The second that I laid eyes on these stones, I actually got them like last November. I was like, they remind me of the falling leaves and then also like the change in colors in the season. And so I saved them for almost a year and I wanted to take it and run with it now. But what I did here was I laid it out by stone type. So I'm working with polychrome jaspers and ocean jaspers. I only have 2 ocean jaspers, and then I have a few more polychrome jaspers, and I just laid out what I want to make. So I'm gonna make 2 necklaces. The rest are all rings. As you can see, this is the only finished ring. That's because I got this one cast, so I made it in wax a few weeks ago. And then I usually draw out my little design ideas and then I just kind of like write next to it what I mean because my drawings are not that fantastic. But for example, with this one, I drew out the design with the little dots next to it and then I said recycled silver blobs, flushette stones. So this is going to be a ring. And these blobs, like I mentioned, are recycled silver. So I melted down silver and then I hammered the blobs flat and then I soldered them to the side of my bezel cup. And yeah, and that's gonna be that ring. And then like this one is a little bit more simple of a charm. But I said firm and charm ? So I'm actually gonna use the fern that I made in my last video and it's gonna be like 2 charms together on the same necklace strand, which I think will be really cool to kind of get at that like fall color, fall changes. Now moving on some work that I have to do for this collection. Unfortunately, I was a bit of a dummy with this and I was trying to fit the stone in to see how the bezel height is. I did have a piece of floss underneath so that I could pull the stone back out, but I had used the floss a bunch of times before and it broke. So now this stone is stuck in here and it is really stuck in here. All of my normal methods of getting it out didn't work. A lot of times I'll try and see if I can jam an X-Acto knife down in there and like kind of pry it out. But that didn't work because this bezel's a pretty tight fit. So I think what I'm gonna try, I haven't done this before, is actually drilling a hole in the back and like seeing if I can push it out from that way because I am gonna be soldering a ring band on the back so it'll cover up the drill hole, so it won't be that big of a deal, I think. So let's see what we can do with that. Keep checking just to make sure I haven't drilled through to the stone yet. It's like not quite big enough for this wire. I guess I could try pushing with this drill bit, but it's not super strong and I don't want to break it. Okay, it appears to be moving like a tiny bit with my soldering pick, but not quite enough. All right, I have this cross burr bit. Aha! That is working. On this side, I wonder if I'm gonna have to drill the other side too though, because it's not like moving the other side. I'm gonna go back to the X-Acto knife, see if that gets me anywhere. I don't think it's a big deal if I have to drill the other side, since I am gonna be soldering the ring band there anyway, but just a little annoying. To the other side. Come on. It is almost there. This is a pretty tight bezel, which is, I think, where the issue really arose. There we go. All right. I really need to learn my lesson on that one and always use 2 pieces of floss, or at the very least, a fresh piece of floss for each one. Now I'm finally gonna tidy up just a little bit because I need to solder next, and it's just easier to do that when it's a little cleaner in here. This is my silver scrap jar. This is worth a lot of money right about now. And now I'm gonna be cutting some wire for ring bands. I'm gonna use double half round wire for this. I just like the look of it, and it's nice and clean and easy and simple to do as well. For sizes, I'm gonna be doing a little tighter of a range of sizes this time than I usually do. So I'm gonna be doing a 7.5, an 8, an 8.5, and a 9 for the ring bands. I usually try to be a bit more inclusive than this, but I did ask on my Instagram what size rings people were looking for, and people were specifically requesting the 7.5, the 8, and the 8.5, so I wanted to make sure that I made those sizes. Additionally, I found that my 8s and my 9s sell the most quickly, so I also wanted to refresh some rings in that size. Something that I've done in the past to make my rings a bit more inclusive is I have offered some semi-custom rings, which means that the person can pick their design from 3 designs that I offer in this semi-custom styling, and they also can pick their size along with their stone. Unfortunately, I'm not able to offer that this collection, but I do try and offer that at least twice a year, if not more than that, just so that people can get what they want. And it's also great for me because then I know I'm making them exactly what they want, and I'm also working with stones that I love to work with. But I will show you now how I size my ring bands and how I make them. So I have this ring band measure from Rio. One thing to note if you're using this as well is that this is specifically for open shank rings. So if you are soldering your ring band shut in a closed circle, this is not what you should be using. You should be measuring it out based on your gauge of wire, etc. However, this has never steered me wrong for my ring bands that I'm gonna do as open shank. So what I usually do is I just measure it and I mark it with a Sharpie. So like this is a size 7, so I would just kind of go between the 7 and 8 for the 7.5, and then I work my way down the line. So then from there, I'm gonna mark out the 8. And then I'll mark out the 8.5. And last but not least, the 9. And then, assuming my wire is thin enough, I will literally just cut it with my scissors. I mentioned these a lot, but these are my Joyce Chen scissors. I linked them in the description down below. These are must-have studio tools. And then I have this ring bending tool. You can also just use a ring bending mandrel. I did not have this for a very long time, so you don't need it, but it is a nice tool, especially if you're making lots of ring bands. I do not have mine screwed down to my bench clearly, and it's definitely much nicer if you do that. And then I don't have every single size on that ring bending mandrel, so what I'll do is I will make small adjustments on this mandrel using my rawhide mallet. And this one is almost a 9, but I just want to make it slightly bigger. And that actually did it, just those few taps. So you should be careful with how many times you tap it, but perfect. And then the last step we have to do before soldering this to the ring shank is sanding them down flat. So I have this like sanding attachment from Rio that I attach to my flex shaft, and I usually just like take it and I'll sand right here, and then I'll get any like sharp edges as well, because it's easier to clean it up now than it is later. And just a note, you can absolutely sand down the ring bands the old-fashioned way as well using sandpaper. I just got a little impatient and it's a little quicker to do it the way that I did it, so to each their own. And then next I'm gonna pick which ring gets which ring size. I know I have 2 rings that both will have clean bezels, just like where there's no like design or decoration around the outside of it. So I usually try and separate the ring sizes for those. Like I wouldn't do like a 7.5 and an 8 for those, although with these ring sizes, they're all fairly close together, so it's not as big of a deal, but especially when I have a wide range of ring sizes, like 5 to 10, I will try more carefully to separate those. So anyway, I'm gonna do that, and then we're gonna get to soldering. I don't know what I was thinking, but I very clearly have 5 rings that I need to make ring bands for, so I just whipped up another one real quick. It's gonna be a 6.5, and I made the sizes for the different rings. I tried to spread out which one gets which size, and now we're gonna solder them on. Thanks so much for coming along with me today. I had a lot of fun as always. I will see you next week, and if you liked this video, it would help my channel grow so much if you would like and subscribe down below. Thanks again.